Hi, my name is Emily Paterson, and I'm a content consultant here at Captico. Today I'm going to be talking about Twitter and how to use Twitter for business. Twitter is a social media site that's really caught on in the last year. It has 75 million users right now, which when you compare to Facebook, which has 350 million users, it's still far behind, but it's catching up really fast. Last year, Twitter grew by 1,400%. It's growing by leaps and bounds. Right now, there's over 1 billion tweets happening every month. And just to give you an example, last month, the Dalai Lama started tweeting for the first time. In 24 hours, he had over 70,000 followers. That's 70,000 audience members listening to what he has to say. So the implications for business and for getting your message out are unprecedented. So what is Twitter? Twitter is basically a micro blog. You have to answer the question, what's happening? The unique aspect of Twitter is that you only have 140 characters to answer that question. They chose 140 characters because the makers of Twitter realized that people aren't just using the computer to blog anymore. They're using their phones, PDAs, and in the future they might be even using things that we haven't even heard of. For using a phone and sending a text, you're limited to 160 characters. So Twitter thought, we'll limit it to 140 characters to make sure that people can send usernames and phone numbers and other things. And that's why you're limited to only 140 characters. The other important aspect of Twitter to remember is that it's very public. Anything that you write on Twitter is searchable by Google and other search engines, and it's in the public domain. So you have to be very careful about what you want to put out there. So because Twitter is a microblog, you have to remember that the same rules apply as when you're blogging. You want content to be authentic, you want it to be fresh and new, and you want to update it very frequently. You want your information to be relevant to your audience, and it's very industry specific. Now we're going to be looking at a few tweets, and I'm going to describe to you what they are and how to use them. Here are 3 tweets from accounts that I find very interesting. The first is Mashable. Mashable is an expert on all things internet, and he sends out hundreds of posts a day. With this first one, you can see that his name, his username, Mashable, is in red. Anything that's in a different font color, in this case red, is clickable. So if you click on the name Mashable, it will take you to his profile in his account and show you all of the tweets that he's posted. You can also see that the URL that he includes is clickable, and it's also in red. So a good rule of thumb is if you type in http:// anything that you write after that will be a URL and will become clickable to other people. The other tweets are from CNN and the Dalai Lama. You can see again that their usernames are red and are clickable, and they have URLs that bring you to other websites. So in this case, these users are using the tweets as a way to give people information and to bring them to other websites. So for marketing purposes, this is a great tool. You can give people a little tidbit and then pull them back to your website or to other relevant articles that you think might be interesting. Now I'm going to be talking about the anatomy of an actual tweet. Twitter, like anything else, has its own language. It only takes a few minutes to understand it. And once you understand the different parts of a tweet, you can really start navigating Twitter and using it to benefit your business. In this example, I used a couple tweets from Bill Gates, one of the biggest voices in the internet industry. You can see here that Bill uses a hashtag, a £, and then the word TED. TED, as you might know, is a big conference for innovators and thinkers and industry leaders. The hashtag is basically a category or a topic, and it segregates information on Twitter. So if you were to go to Twitter and type in hashtag TED, any tweet that any user has posted about the TED conference will show up on your screen. So by putting the hashtag before the word TED in his post, Bill Gates ensures that anyone who's following the TED conference will see his tweet. If he did not include the hashtag, his conversation, his tweet, would not show up on that TED Twitter feed. You can also see that he includes a link to his video with an HTTP. Again, anything that's in a different color font is clickable. Bill Gates also uses the RT in his second tweet. RT stands for retweet. and it's a way of forwarding information on that you found interesting. It's also a way of giving credit to other users. And because the internet is so reciprocal, you want to give credit to people. You don't want to claim someone's information as your own. So Bill here writes retweet, and then he puts the @ sign, and he writes the person's username. Whenever you see an @ sign, it means that the next word is someone's username. So in the second tweet, Bill Gates is retweeting something that was originally written by the user Unfoundation. Because he finds it very interesting information, he thinks his followers will be interested in it. Bill also uses the hashtags UN and Haiti. Again, that means that anyone who's following conversations on Twitter about the UN or about Haiti will be sure to see this post. This next slide is a list of useful tools that we at Captico use every day to help us use Twitter more effectively. I'm only going to mention a few of them briefly because there's so many. The list function is something kind of new to Twitter. A list allows you to pull in different people from different industries and keep them in a group. That way, if you pull up that list, only their posts will show up. This is especially useful when you start to have many, many followers and many people following you. Another really useful tool is bit.ly. We just call it bit.ly. What bit.ly does is take a really long URL or web address and shrink it into a tiny little URL that you can include in your tweet. That's really important because Twitter only allows 140 characters. And sometimes web addresses can be much longer than 140 characters. The last one I'm going to mention is TweetDeck. TweetDeck is a way of managing Twitter, especially when you have many, many followers. It allows you to filter out the most important users, the ones that you really want to see. It also allows you to post to multiple social media sites at the same time. For instance, if you wanted to post the same message to Twitter and Facebook, you could do that using TweetDeck. There are a few rules that if you follow will make your Twitter experience much more enjoyable. The first one is the 4-to-1 rule. And that basically means you're posting 4 tweets that are informative and interesting and about other articles and other people to every one post or one tweet where you're writing about something that has to do with your business or yourself. So let's say you have a promotion on your website and you think people would care about. You write that one post and that's your one self-promotion. And then the next 4 posts that you write about should refer to other things happening in the industry or other users or other articles. And this way, you're not tooting your own horn every time you're getting on Twitter. People can see right through that. So if you stick to the 4-to-1 rule, you should be okay. The next important rule is to balance the number of people you are following and who are following you. You want to keep those numbers about the same. If you're following many, many, many more people than who are following you, it makes you look like your topic is not very relevant. So it's not about the number. It's not a popularity contest. It's about quality. You want to follow only very quality people on Twitter. And hopefully the people who are following you will really care about what you have to say. It's also important to ask questions. You don't always need to be putting out information. You can also ask questions and solicit information. Twitter's a great way to do that and to start a dialogue with anyone from around the world. And respond to others. When you see tweets from people that are interesting, feel free to respond to them. In conclusion, Twitter is an amazing tool. It allows you to spread your message to thousands of people around the world, and it allows you to engage and dialogue with these same users. For more information on Twitter, social media, blogging, or Web 2.0, check out our other videos on captico.com.